There we are. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. I am your Sensei Al-Bob, your teller of stories. And I'm just sitting here watching it all go by. Too many screens, just too many screens. So, what's going on? I got all of these. So, I have so many threads in my boxes. And oh, just take a look at some people. Uh, let's see. I mean, people going on and on about how uh, uh, anyway, people going on about how it's all America is the cause of what's going on in Ukraine. Well, it is, but the fact that Putin went into Ukraine and is blowing up all the towns, America ain't doing that. Yes, America's giving something on the order of 500 javelins and 500 stingers a day to the Ukrainians, and just an hour training, you can shoot this thing in. So somebody who's a hunter who knows the woods and can sneak around, one guy, maybe 4 or 5, carrying each 2 or 3 javelins, they can sneak in, figure out where it is, hit this, hit that, and it's a mess. And who knows how many Russian soldiers are dead, but they haven't marched in like they thought they were going to do and just go straight to Kiev and put the wrong guy in, right? And the guy who's president now, duly elected, comedian, right? It really seems like he is, because a lot of people who knew him and interviewed him said that he was a very thin-skinned comedian. And, when his step one is going down with, Donnie Chump, all of that was, to really, go off the hook, meaning he would get upset. And so now he's a war president, and he's, the best things, he's better than, Abe Lincoln and George Washington. Everyone seems like they're reading from script. And the only way Putin can win militarily if he starts throwing around nukes. And then what is NATO going to do? So it almost looks like the Georgia Stones, right? Or, as I keep saying, aliens are going to land. And it's okay, kids, you've shown that you can't take care of this yourself. We're taking over. And of course, those aliens are one or two people, higher beings from another dimension, or, from the future, us from the future, or El Hydra, orchestrating this thing since 1928, when they were the Fool Society. And everyone goes, what are you talking about? That's like science fiction, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's as much reality as what's going on in front of us. And, I would say any day now, Putin's going to pull the plug on the internet because he has to, because otherwise his people back home are going to get quite upset because, I said, he's lost more than 500 guys, so, and, there's, you just look at the pictures of the destruction. It's like, so what's he, going to get, right? So his biggest, Russia, has all these natural resources, gold, coal, oil, uranium, rare earth elements. Basically, they're going to be frozen out of this new economy that's coming. And they're going to go back to the Stone Age. All they're going to have is nukes, right? And I, saw back in the 70s technology, like space base, when Ronald Reagan, had Star Wars, they already had that. And, people Oh, the Russians now have hyper baloney missiles that go faster than baloney. You know, it's like we've had, the X-15 was a hypersonic missile, with a guy in it, right? And that was in the 50s, right? That's like 1948 technology. We had a hypersonic missile, um, started with an S, a nuclear scramjet, right? And it had a nuclear reactor on it. And instead of and it could fly around the world forever, right? It had a nuclear reactor on board, and it could go, hypersonic, right? And the problem with it was that the shit that was spitting out the back was radioactive. So it went round and round and round the Earth many, many, many times, swiveling all around so you couldn't hit it. Um, you know, there was going to contaminate the Earth, right? It's like having one big nuclear bomb going off, right? And there was a sci-fi movie, one of those things where the ants are as big as the supermarket. There was a movie where it starts out with that missile. Unknown country launches nuclear, you know, scram missile, hypersonic. This is like in the 1953 era, and that's when we were developing them, when we had them, and they were unusable because the thing moves so fast you cannot hit something accurately. So the only way you can use a missile like that is indiscriminate, mayhem, and which has no military use, and it just pisses people off. Look at the Ukrainians. It was a pretty amazing thing on TikTok. This little town um, in the Ukraine, and there's three or four. There's the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and a few other people. It's old ladies, and they're out there with Molotov cocktails. Old people shooting. Guys with 30-06 and shotguns. Blowing away the Russian soldiers because the Russian soldiers are like, the old folk aren't waiting, and throwing Molotov cocktails, and they like 6, 7 old folk took on about 20 tanks, and they're all burning. It was like pretty freaking amazing. No wonder Vlad's like cutting the internet. And it was a TikTok, and the old people were laughing hysterically, and like they're probably drunk out of their minds. And I mean, this is, if I was an alien up there in a flying saucer looking down, I'd be laughing hysterically. Look at these people! Ah! So that's where we're at. And anybody who looks at this, politically from a prejudice point of view, and what is a prejudice point of view? Prejudice point of view is yes. Look at this. It's blinking on and off. I've only been on for 8 minutes and 18 seconds, and they're interrupting me. Who cares? My whole digital universe has been thrown up in the ceiling, and it's what it is. What can I say? So it's mind-boggling, right? So, um, anybody got anything to say? Who's? It's not just UAI there, Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Alba. I'm here to tell you a story. And the story is Stanley was right. Go read, go watch the first Captain America movies. Right? It's totally straight up what it is. End of World War II, Germany bombed into the Stone Age once again, and but the Nazis escaped, ran away to South America and to Antarctica and the Moon and the United States and England and the rest of Europe. The EU is 100% Nazi. America is Hail Hydra. The CIA, that the whole National Security Act is straight up Nazis. So that's what we got. Good old Ike was trying to, when he gave that speech about the military-industrial complex, he couldn't say, "Hey, kids, your country's been taken over by Nazis." So he had that speech, and he gave it so he could retire and go play golf for the rest of his life and feel good. I said it. I gave him a warning. Good luck. Harry Truman tried to, and they just made fun of him. But he's the guy who started all the ball rolling. And FDR blew his brains out, right? He didn't die of a brain aneurysm. He ate his gun. That's why they had a closed coffin, right? When he was lying in repose, because, he was missing the top of his, back and top of his head. He just blew it right off. Right? But he was like suffering from his polio and everything else that was wrong with him. And he was miserable about the outcome of everything. And he knew he had the blood on his hands. He didn't want to go to Nuremberg, so he ate his gun. And what else can I say? Good luck with that. There's three of you there. So what do you guys think? Going to end up in nuclear holocaust? The aliens landing? Now, we are glad by going in there, painted and stuff. He could have just came in and he said, I'm going in there to, stop the bullies. So he could have gone in and just stopped at the three little Crimea and the little two dumb bots neck of the woods, and maybe gone in a few more miles just to make that thing, and then put his army there and stopped. And that would have been a lot more politically tenable than what he's doing now. And there's nothing he can do but kill everyone. And that's not going to go over well. And I would say that, the general public are going to rise up, and the people in the government are going to go in and blow him away. Even his private guards will blow him away. Then what will happen? You'll have a nuclear-armed basket case of the country. So, good luck with that. And the only way out of this is through love. Now, if Vlad said, okay, I had a dream last night, and God came to me and said, love everyone. So I'm stopping right here, right now. And I'm inviting all of the, alternative media to come in and be by the sides of every soldier I have, right? And interview every single one, get their story. And, and we're going to stop, right? And all I really want is those three little places that I already had, and I'm out of here. And I'm sorry. And I'll help. I will give the Ukraine free fuel for the next 30 years. I will, be very generous with our resources with the Ukraine, right? I will help rebuild the Ukraine, build it back better, right? Now, these countries that are taking in the Ukrainians are taking them in for one reason only. A, they're white, whiter than white. B, they are part of the Khazarian mob. And just look what a handful of these guys can do to, the army of Russia, And Poland is taking all these kids in, like 1 million kids at least. Less than 6 years, they're going to have the most kick-ass army in the universe, right? And we, Lockheed Martin, Grumman Aerospace, Barry Rand, all those guys are going to be happy to give them top-of-the-line weapons. And these kids are going to be, no one's going to mess with that. And because they're part of NATO, no one's going to. So they, are going to be the hitman. Just like England made the United States the hitman, we are going to make Poland the hitman, right? And they'll have this 1 million killer army, right, of kids who really are pissed off and want to go kick someone's ass. And so that's, if it doesn't end up in one big mushroom cloud, a la the Georgia Stones, go look at the Georgia Stones kids, It says, we're overpopulated. We're not over. We have more room, more everything. Everyone, we could, when, 1/10 of 1% owns the music production of 98% of everything. And that's why the world is screwed up. We don't need communism to split it up. No, we have to have people who have love in their heart. And our culture is dynamic of co-creation of love. We do that. The economy, not a problem. Industrialization, not a problem. This, kids, I don't, all of this stuff like this Ukrainian thing is just a to keep on because we have basically 3 years. If we do not in 3 years make a hard turn away from the direction we're going, and take all the money we spend on war and spend it on peace, on education, on feeding, on healthcare, on reclamation of the planet, meaning carbon. I mean, plants love carbon. Just plant more plants. And the other thing, when Henry Hudson went up the Hudson, that's why they call it the Hudson, because he was the first guy up there. It wasn't like there was nobody there. There was, 20 million native folk in New England, right? And he went up there and he looked at the either side of the river, and it was like the Garden of Eden. And there were all these edible plants, Same when Christopher Columbus went into what is now Haiti, he called it Hispaniola. There was 6 million indigenous people there. And within 10 years, he killed them all. And that's why he went to Africa to bring in slaves. Chris Columbus and his son were the people who first brought slaves to, America, because they killed all the indigenous people. We have enslaved more indigenous people. There were 600 million indigenous people here before Europeans got here. Now there's 180,000. It's like, you want to talk about, and people go, oh, don't talk about that. That's cancel culture. Okay. Well, demographics is catching up with the cancel culture. Meaning I worked as a itinerant scholar. I was a scholarly hitman for the corporate world for a good 30 years, right? I worked under people like Dr. Quigley at the CFR, right? I studied under people like Joseph Campbell, right? And so, and no one even knows who those guys are. I mean, Campbell is, well-renowned and unbelievably, George Lucas sat at his feet and copied everything down out of his mouth, and that was Star Wars. The whole story is, if you need to read Joseph Campbell's The Myth of the Hero, that's Star Wars, right? Did George Lucas give Joseph Campbell even a tip of a hat? No. That's all I can say. Yeah. So I love you guys, but nobody's watching. No one seems to care. Oh, let's see. Okay, fine. Too many screens, And I got more of them, And why do I have all these screens? Because none of these things do the same thing. They're all supposed to be smart. They're dumber than dog doo-doo, right? Well, there I am live. Look at that. Seemed like a little stuck there. Uh, 478 subscribers. Doesn't seem to go very far. And videos, it says I have 1,300 videos. I've had that many for the last year. More about the channel. How much more is there? Joined in May 8th, 2018. 82,000 views, 82,361 views. Anyway, none of this matters. I'm just here telling you a story. What can I say? We are in these really interesting times. I've been talking about the big splat now for a year and a half, right? Just kept talking about big splat. Only thing that works is love's co-creation. So say we all. Not many people like who's saying it at all. Not, nobody's there, and that's okay, you know, because I died in 2014, right? And I was, went up there to my life review, and there was a big party and cake and funny hats and balloons and noisemakers and confetti, and everyone's patting me on the back for doing such a great job. And my teachers were all there smiling, and I was, oh, good, I'm home. I can just relax and don't have to worry about anything anymore. And they said, no, 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 no. You're not. I mean, you can die, sure, but you're not home yet, You've done a great job. You've done 80% of what you said you were going to do. And so that's great. That most people can't even get 5%. You've done 80%. That's great. But you got another 20%. So you got a choice here. Because you've done so great, we're giving you a choice. Go back, finish up, do your best, and then come back. You got other stuff to do. I saw that view of me being a dad in my late 70s with a baby in my arms, and other things that I, knew was on the to-do list. And so, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it, right? So I lost 260 pounds. I'm down almost my high school weight. I'm down to 204. I went from 460 to 204. And I only have one little flabby part of skin, right? I've lost the weight and the skin hasn't sucked it in yet. But just a little bit. I mean, I've seen people who lost a bunch of weight and they have to, throw their skin over their shoulder before they put on their shirt. And my endocrinologist keeps saying that I'm the healthiest dead guy he knows. So anyway, that's the story. You have the choice. You are you are here to choose what you're going to do with your life. You don't have to do what your mommy and daddy says. You don't have to do what the church says. You don't have to do what the state says. You have to do what your heart says, right? And your body, you're not your body. That's just your avatar, You're not even your soul. Your soul is just a server, What you are is spirit. You are a spirit of love's co-creation, right? And without love, nothing occurs. Everything else is an illusion, right? So that's where we're at. 12:59. We're at this at 2 hours, 22 minutes and 55 seconds. No one seems to be too interested. I'm going to go back into the deep green, and I may or may not come back on YouTube for 4 or 5. It's supposed to be rainy, snowy, cold, blah. So I'm going to be writing, right? So that's what I'm going to be doing. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where we go. So. See, I'm a dancing fool. I hear any tune, I'm just. So, morning, evening, afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And don't believe a word I say. This show is just for entertainment's sake. Now, I would really learn to get under that desk, duck and cover, and make sure your asshole is facing whatever direction the blast is going to come from. That can protect you, especially if you are an asshole. And everyone who has just got their head in the sand and, I don't want to talk about that. That's cancel culture. Oh, that's too upsetting. I don't want to know about that. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that, right? One of those people, I know it. Don't tell me what. You don't know it's a one thing. It's public radio. It's what's going to change the world. Public radio. Well important. Public radio will do it. And thanks, Mr. Exxon, for giving us public radio. And thanks, Mr. Lockheed, for giving us public radio. And thanks, Mr. General Motors, for giving us public radio. We have the best institutions that money can buy. If you want to know something, go to alternativeradio.org, or you go check out Free Press, .org, .com, whatever they are. Just Google an organization, Free Press, and what they're trying to do is that states are selling off their assets for billions of dollars. Most states have media assets like public radio, public TV, public. Those were in the 60s and 70s. States were, doing that, and they're now selling them off to biblical, Bible radio and Bible TV and Jimmy and Tammy and. So, and you got to realize that religion is just another business scam like politics is. Basically, if you drive around the country and you go through whatever little town, county, and they say, welcome to our little town or country, you'll see incorporated vision, incorporated village, incorporated town, incorporated city, incorporated state, incorporated USA. USA was made a corporation in 1876, give or take, right? We are ruled. Have you ever seen the American flag? And then you see another American flag that has a gold fringe around it. That's admiralty law. That's you are owned. You are property. When Richard Nixon went off the gold standard, so why do we have, why do we have the petrodollar? Because there used to be the petropound, but after England had its little debacle in Egypt over the Suez in the 50s, the American dollar became the euro, the world currency. Why is that? Because when the United States went off the gold standard, the thing that amortized the dollar was you. You were a slave. You were sold into indentureship. Your county and your city and your state and your country are not the only corporations. You are property. Good luck with that. Go check it out. Oh, there's a guy. Go up, look. The guy who talks about admiralty law, right? I forget his name. Go look up Catherine Austin Fitts, right? Go look up dark journalism. He goes on and on about COG. What's that continuation of government? That was set up when the 1947 National Security Act was passed. Part of it was the CIA, the NSA, and COG. We have a nuclear war. We have all these people down underground that'll keep the government running. Sending out the Social Security checks. And so over the years, people like Dick Cheney and Mr. Rumsfeld changed all the rules. So it was only supposed to be used for nuclear war. Now it can be used for anything. And that's what FEMA was invented to be, the institutional arm between the general public and this fascist entity, right? As said, in World War II, German people bombed into the Stone Age. Nazis won the war. The bomb we dropped on Hiroshima, the uranium bomb we dropped on Japan, was a Nazi weapon. It had a swastika when they gave it to us, and we painted it gray, Air Force gray. And how did the Russians get the atomic bomb in 1949? Why? Because we gave it to them. We needed a credible enemy. And the Russians spend what they spend in for the military in 1 year, we spend in a week. They are not, their GDP is 0.45% of the EU. It's like they're a poor country. They're a third world country. It's like, this is a soap opera. And one of the ends is that, 3/4 of the human race gets vaporized, right? So good luck with that. The only way you can deal with this through love's co-creation. Meaning, and we have in 3 years, if we do not make a hard turn away from this, that's it. We have gone past that tipping. And I basically do think aliens are going to land before the 4th of July, right? And take over, right? Oh, you guys, you stupid kids, here, we're gonna fix it for you because they are our parents. The only aliens on this planet are Homo sapiens sapiens. We're the only, every other creature on this planet doesn't need a jacket or a coat or a hat or a house or a car. Their environment is the thing that supports their life, not us. We're alien to this place. So, don't believe a word I say. These are all just little figments of your imagination, of me saying things that may twinkle something in your brain, where you may go look something up. You may go back and look at, the 1,300 shows, but, I've had more than that. I'm past the 2,000 mark. But who cares, right? I have to be kept, they'll at least allow me to do this. I mean, they make it hard for me. They make it complicated for me. They change the rules all the time. But, I still do it because I love you guys, right? Now, I hope somebody's watching this. Or at some point in time they watch this. And I suggest that you guys go put this stuff on your hard drives. Go take a look at this stuff. Yeah, the last few shows, not too many folks. 18 views, 23 views, 17 views. When I was at the school and I could do 3 or 4 shows a day, I was getting, when I finished the show and it would show me how many people watched and how long they watched. When I did those like 6-hour shows, it would say, 125 people watched and you had, 400 consecutive hours, right? And so I would, sign off and go to sleep and come back and would say, you only had 25 people watch and you had, 12 hours. It's like, they just, keeping the boy down on the farm, which is okay. I mean, and it's live. What's up?
And here we are. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob. And
this is me yesterday.
I found a little place that is somewhat easier. Who knows? But this is a test, and just want to see if, there's somebody. Hey, somebody, can you click me a nice little chat here? So, here we are. We have this nice black lady who's going to be Supreme Court judge. And all those mean Republicans are saying really stupid things. And the Democrats are falling all over. Now, she is, very beyond well-suited for this job, right? And her answers are no less pretty much what Amy Barrett said, but smarter. Pretty much same, but smarter. Joe Biden is, still the Stepford wife. And we are seeing in front of us all of the hidden hand coming out from behind the curtain. Now, this is like when Dorothy et al. Went into the wizard's chambers and, oh, look at that man behind the curtain. That's kind of what's going on. And, but a lot of people are dying. And this has been a long slog of death, starting with the neocons and, hey, we're going to kill everyone in the Mideast, let's start out with Afghanistan. Let's go on to weapons of mass destruction, good old Iraq, and then Syria, then Libya. Libya, I mean, the guy was, he did the best for his people than anybody else. Everyone had a house, everyone had a job, everyone had school, everyone had health care, everyone had water, everyone had food, everyone, was happy with him. They would have got rid of him. They didn't, but he had to go. So, and the same with what's going on in the Ukraine. Vlad my real question about Vlad is he just reading Mr. Globaloni's script, of the whatever they call that theater, kabuki, political kabuki theater, where lots of people die by the blade and the shell and the hypersonic missile. I'm telling you what I think is going to occur. He is going to, someone's going to let go of some nasty shit, and a lot of people are going to go like this. And then it's going to be, oh my God, we have to have, meaning we don't need to put aircraft. We don't need to put American aircraft over Ukraine. The Ukrainians are doing a pretty good job at shooting down, with the Stingers, and they have more sophisticated anti-aircraft missiles themselves. So we're doing a pretty good job, Russians have about 400 aircraft to waste on Ukraine. And that will take, if they were to lose those 400 aircraft, meaning you can have X amount of hardware in your military, but if you lose, like they're on the edge of about to lose 10% of what they went into the Ukraine with. They will lose their military ability to do anything, because the rest of that army, that other 140,000 guys, they were there to truck things around, move things, logistics is the biggest part of the army, not the guys with the guns. So it's a very interesting thing to see what's going on, and I really think that Mr. Globaloni wants basically before Easter, before the Jesus' day, before Palm Sunday, NATO will be involved, and lots of people are going to be dying in Europe. And it's going to be looking, and there will be some releases of tactical nuclear weapons, and because it's really obvious that Vlad's army is not, that good. If he can't just roll into Ukraine and take it, then this is not, a good thing. And so he's going to, he's going to unplug Russia. He's going to disconnect all diplomatic everything. And that during the Cold War, they never did that. And so the Russian people will have zero information. All they're going to get is the gray guy on the news screen. That's it. They're not going to get anything else, period. They're going to realize that, they've been, 30 years now being part of the world community, and when it gets unplugged, it's like, it's like the Borg being unplugged, right? So it's going to be interesting. That's all I got to say.
It's going to be interesting.
And that's why I live out here in the middle of nowhere. I am 160 miles, the closest targetable something. Not to say, something might fall down, but I don't think it's going to go that way. I think, NATO will get joined in. There will be a big fight. The tanks are going to roll into, NATO territory. And again, I would say that, Poland will experience in 1939, and it's almost karmic. I don't know how else to put it. And there will be some nuclear exchanges, tactical nuclear weapons.
Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be.
Like a twinkle of an eye, 1 million people will have died. And that's, aliens will land by 4th of July, right? And they will do, if you ever go see that 90s version of V, and also go see, what's his name? The guy who did Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict. Let's watch those two, because that's what's going to happen. Gene did real good at giving you the 4-1 on the flip phone. So it's going to be very interesting. And now I have a little place.
Oh, there's one person. Anyone got something to say?
To you, and I will. This is
okay.
Closer than 40 miles away. It's a little more.
Hey there, one person. Is that AI? Hey, AI. You're like a good puppy dog. You always make me feel good. Your digital tail wagging. Yeah, you still let me be here. That's nice of you. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't really control Facebook. the digital entity does. You know, kind of what Icarus is. It's kind of what Satan is. It's what the aliens are. It's all the above. It's the boogeyman. It's your guardian angel. It's your Dutch uncle, Sensei Al Bob, right here. I always love you guys. I'm always praying for you. I'm working day, night, every minute to in every day and every way take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. That's it. Anyway, that's the story. So, what can I say but ole? And I'm going to go. Okay? See you guys later. Unless someone wants to say something, how about a thumb up? That'd be nice. How about something the old PayPal? How about get a hold of me at the dudewake42 at Gmail? Any of the above. Okay? I'll catch you later. Oh, Lynn C. Hey there, Lynn. What do you think about everything going on? It's a nice piano rip there. Come on, Lynn. More than a high. What do you think? How you feeling? Where do you live? What's your country? What's your neighborhood? What are your friends thinking? What are they saying? What are they doing? Summer's coming. Or is it winter? You're down and down under. Winter is heading your way. That means it's only going to be 90 degrees rather than 120. I lived in Australia and I was out in the outback with a old Aborigines guy who was giving me I was sent out there to do an ethnography on this tribe there were about 800 of them back around 1967. And then they found uridium and coal and a few other things on their land until the mineral companies from Canada just came there and shot them all in the head. Killed them all, except for 9. And those people were out there picking berries, and so they didn't get whacked. And that was all. So Australia wanted to have the Olympics there, so they wanted to show America that, hey, we're good. We respect our indigenous people. So they sent me out there doing ethnography. And before I got there, I went through Adelaide. And the guy, I'm the expert on the Aborigines in the North Territory. It's what they're like children, they're really blah, blah, blah. They very sophisticated, don't have a worldview, blah, blah, blah. They'll never let you take a picture of them, blah, blah, blah. And Polaroid had given me a ton of SX70s. They gave me 10 SX70s, a case, like 100, 200 packs of that film that just slipped in there and went, whoop, it was very Star Trek. And, it folded up flat, and when you popped it out, it was a great camera. And so, and these cameras, you could focus, you could change the f-stop, you could change the time too. So they were quite, any camera that you can adjust to your own thing, and there's some little chip in there telling you what to take a picture of. Is a good device. So anyway, I gave those, first thing I did was hand these things out. I mean, there were 9 people. I had 10 cameras. Everyone got a camera. And they really took some great pictures. Anyway, so they showed me, they did have a written language. They had a library. They just never showed it to that jerk-off, because he was a jerk-off, right? Or as they would say in Australia, Richard Cranium. Anyway, so we're walking across this, mammoth, plain, and he's describing to me that, he's so old, and he lived in a part of Queensland, Northern Territory near Ayers Rock, that he was one of the last guys who was one of the first guys to see a white man. And so he was like running around naked, and he saw this guy ride up on a horse. He had never seen a horse. And he thought it was a different animal. And then when the guy got off of the horse, and there was now 2 things, he totally. So he would tell me stories like that. So we were walking across this, and I had a big umbrella. I was always lathered up because I knew that UV was You know, every white person I knew in Australia is dead of skin cancer. So anyway, I remember walking across this plain, and there's a couple of trees here and there, and there's a car stuck up about 80 feet up in the air in this big oak tree, and it's kind of next to a stream bed. And what's interesting about Australia is that there's loads of water there. It's just in the ground because the white people brought sheep and goats and things like that ate all the grass down to the roots, and then these big rain seasons would come in. They had 80 feet of black topsoil. They had enough topsoil to like sequester all the carbon in the world just from the grass, right? But over 120 years, white Anglo-Saxon people destroyed the place, right? Turned it into desert, dead. And that's really what's killing the planet. It's not our cars, it's not the coal mines, it's not the electric plants. It's that we're killing the earth for chump change, right? Anyway, so we're walking across this and it's a beautiful sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. And he goes, "See that mountain range over there?" And I go, "Yep." It's about 5 miles over to where the feet are. He goes, "See that first ridge? We need to get up there in the next 20 minutes or we're dead." And I go, "What?" And he won't. He just starts running. He's a guy who's like 90 million years old. He's a little black guy. He's just hot tailing it across. He goes, "You better start running." He's like talking over his shoulder. So I go, and I'm in pretty good shape. I'm at about 180. I've been walking everywhere. I'm in pretty good shape. And I'm like running behind him, and I'm climbing up to that ridge, and it's in front of me. It's still blue sky. The sun is still beating down on me, and I get up at the top of the ridge, and I'm going, "Why did you have me do that? What was it? Some kind of test? What was it?" And he just turned around. I turn around, and there's this black wall just heading towards, and where we were, the black wall is just, right, and just behind the black wall is this big wave that's washing over the ground, and it's about 8 feet high. It's raining that hard. So they have that kind of rain all the time. So what's happened in Queensland is they have that all the time. It's just kind of where people are, but there weren't that many people there were only 7 million people when I was in Australia. Now I think it's 20 or 30 million. Anyway, so what they really want to do is tell everyone who's out there in Queensland that you can't live there. That's too dangerous. That you're going to have to move into the cities, because they don't like people being stretched out all over the place because it allows people to do whatever the heck they want to do. Candace. So when I was there, so I was with the Aborigines. I was with them for almost a whole year, and I, was part of their ceremonies. And I was just going to Australia to visit my friend Neil Curtis, who is like the Gary Trudeau of Australia. He was like they're a famous, political cartoonist. He's a great cartoonist. And the whole story of how we met and traveled across America together is take another 3 hours, so I won't even go there. I mean, I've already told it. Go. I'm telling you, guys, go and watch all my other shows. Just kind of go to them because they're all there. You go up to videos and you can see them all, which, YouTube has deemed the 1,300 shows to be seen. They're still there. So, and I repeat myself all the time, so that's probably good enough. So I have that story. But anyway, I was only going to visit him for 6 months. I got married. I wanted him to meet Donna. Well, he met Donna. Yes, he knew Donna. He had his own Donna, Leslie. And so we were going to meet Leslie. So I didn't expect to be there 3.5 years, but I was. And most of that time I worked for the government of Australia, and then they deported us because we couldn't afford to get out of there, and we were starting to make waves and said, you've been here, you only had a visa for 6 months, you've been here for 1.5 years. I said, yeah, but I worked for you the whole time. And they go, I know, we're bad. So they actually sent us home first class in the diplomat lounge on their airline. So we went home in first class, and they gave me a lot of money to leave, which was quite nice. But when we were there, it was the first time in 120 years that the Labor Party was going to have a chance at winning. So that's all the union guys. We spent over 3 years in Australia. Yep, sure did. In the 70s, 77, 78, 79, came back in 80. Um, so just when Ronnie Reagan was running for president. And things were screwed up then. I mean, people think America's screwed up now. The 70s was New York City went bankrupt. All the big cities, Chicago, Detroit, D.C., Philly, Boston, they all went bankrupt. New York City had to fire get rid of the policemen. Well, New York City did that for 10 years, right? Well, in 1977, it wasn't. And I had a lot of, I was a master electrician, electrical engineer, um, you know, honored photographer and scholar. Yeah, I mean, I got a, travel visa, for 6 months, right? I had a place to go. I had friends there. I knew people. It wasn't that hard. I don't know what it is now, but you wouldn't want to live there now. It's like being in Nazi Germany, you know? Go watch Max Heigan, who had to run away to Mexico, right? And it was that way when I was there because in 1978, I guess, there's only two parties, Labor and Liberals, right? And the Liberals were stone cold fascists, and as they are today. And what are liberals? But people who feel guilty about being racist, or ist. They're just guilty about being ist, right? Racist, sexist, ist. And so the Queen came to. You have to realize the Queen owns Australia. The Queen owns Jamaica. The Queen owns Canada. Anything that's part of the Commonwealth. Wealth is in the Queen's pocket, and she's a reptile. She's got scales. Go watch David Icke. So we were there, and I was putting on a, after going out there in the outback and seeing what was going on with the Aborigines, I came back and told the white people, because the Aborigines said, doesn't matter to us, we live in dream time. What do you think the name of the show is, right? And they knew I was coming before I even knew I was going to Australia. They contacted me when I was on flight 007 from California to Australia. And I was right on that place where the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, that line. And I was pushing a button for the toilet, and the blue goo was going down this way, and then it slowed, and then it went the other way. And I watched it. And it mesmerized me to where I was out in the outback, standing in the middle of a fire with naked Aborigines, and I was playing a didgeridoo. And then boom, 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 pounding on the door. And, in airplanes, when you lock the door, they can open it. All they do is flip up the little thing where it says vacant, and they can open the door. So, and my pants were down around my legs, and she was looking at my butt. And she goes, take your finger off the button. I said, oh, yeah, what? She goes, we had the alarm. I said, what's the alarm? She says, well, we only have so much blue goo, and you had your finger on the button for almost 3 minutes. And so that's when the alarm goes off. So anyway, then so she goes, she knew exactly where we were. She goes, that happened to me once. I said, what? We went from the northern hemisphere to southern hemisphere, and you watch the blue goo change the direction. She said, yeah, wow. She goes, that's a place where you become mesmerized. And that was my introduction to Australia. So Dreamtime, Candace, is this dimensional boundary, So what we think when we're awake, we think that's reality. Not really. This is not, you really think this is reality? All the crazy shit going on, you think that's real? This war, all these people, Syria, Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, no, this is all, we're all in a hallucinatory state, and wake up, wake up, wake up. once you do, it's just like Neo in the Matrix. You're going to find yourself in a bathtub of Vaseline without any hair on,
321, please.
and you're just an ever-ready battery. Your true self is your spirit and loves co-creation. Otherwise, it's all an illusion. Now you can kind of pick the illusion you want. You are the decider. You can figure out that, right? But the karmic dynamic always kind of busts through that illusionary door, and that's what the guy who wrote Wizard of Oz was an economist. Follow the yellow brick road, follow. That was all the bricks, the golden bricks in Fort Knox. Follow yellow brick road. And that's what everyone's doing. Where am I at today? I am out. I'm right this second. I'm in, the church of the elevator music, and in a neck of the woods, which is an undisclosed location in Boone, right on the border of Boone, North Carolina, in the deep green. So I'm back in the deep green. I'm no longer in Virginia. Oh, and I'm pretty much in the next, I would say not until the end of May am I going anywhere, right? You can come visit. You live in America, Candace? Come on and visit. Bring your girlfriends. I got a very nice campsite, and it's on a strong ley line. How are I? As I went to, so in the last 2 months, February, March, when I was in Virginia, I saw my Rolls Royce doctors, at, the big monster HMO Carillion. And, that's my, my endocrinologist always says, I am the healthiest dead guy he knows, right? So, yeah, everything's wrong with me, but I am staying in homeostasis. I'm being very disciplined about what I eat and my blood sugar and all the rest, right? So all my, I had and then I came to my other doctor and he did a full blood panel because, all your organs are working fine. Yeah, you're fucked up, but, I have charcoal legs, so the bones in my ankles are mush. My podiatrist and my bone doctor, I used to have to walk with these big metal clamps that went from my feet, from my big toe all the way to my hips. Clink, 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 and I had to walk with a walker. Now I don't walk with anything. Once in a while, I'll have a little thing on my kneecap just to support it. But, and all my doctors can't believe, A, I'm alive, B, that I'm in such good health, and C, that I can walk. They wanted to cut my legs off, so. And my eye doctors had my eyes worked on, and yeah, I got all the diabetic eyeball stuff going on, but it's all in homeostasis and it's all in balance, and my eye pressure is good, and all this is good, and that's good. Yeah, I have all the things wrong with me, but I'm not having to take any of their medicines. That's the other thing. My blood sugar is sticking around 88 to 130, and I don't take any diabetic medicines, just my discipline on my diet. So, and I lost 260 pounds over, since 2014. So what's that? That's like 8 years. You're in Washington State. The whole West Coast, they're going to make it illegal to live in. They're going to do, Candace, have you watched any of Max Igon work? Go check him out. Black Crow, I think, was his channel. But Max Igon will get you. He's in Mexico now. So let's see what Max is into. So, here's real hard case, Me, I'm all about love's co-creation. That's the only thing that exists. So, but he's, going on about it. Let's see if I can find him. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 doo, doo, doo. No, time flies when you're having fun. So Max Igon, his one guy, a dark journalist, another guy. Go look at his X122. Oh, here's Max. Here we go. This is
If
Max.
you have an enlarged prostate, do this 15-second Japanese ritual before bed to shrink it almost immediately.
Almost immediate.
Dr. Nima Sharifi was awarded.
Oh, yeah.
Works are really, really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
They're really, really pushing things with Ukraine.
This is Max
And
Igon.
the situation in Ukraine, you've got to understand, this isn't
Yep.
anything that should be creating World War III. It's the media and the government policies that are trying to push it this way. You know, Biden wanting to put sanctions on everything. Now, I said this is just theater. It's a theater war in Ukraine to bring about the objective that they want. Now, I told you, Putin is a player. You know, the timing of
He's
this,
a player.
he's not
He's
taking
reading.
in the deep
He's
state.
part of the
He's a
crew.
player. If he was doing this to save the people in Donbass, he could have done that 7 or 8 years ago, but he didn't. Why did he do it now? He did it now because they needed him to do it now because it's all part of the same play. And just to prove this, Russia's playing along. Russia has now given businesses in Russia 5 days to relocate themselves off the internet. Russia is basically shutting down the internet. What it's doing is it's going to create its own internet that will be the Russian internet. Nobody in Russia will be able to communicate with people outside Russia. That's what they're doing.
Yep, that's what they're doing.
The internet's also gone down in the northern rivers in New South Wales where all this bad flooding's happened. They also have been completely without internet.
And this
there
is
as
what's
well.
going to happen to
Gates
you
is one
there
of
in
the
this
places saying it's an
campus.
unsafe area. We can't look after you. We're not even going to worry about fixing the internet here because you're living in an unsafe area. And so you just have to move. That's the way they're going to play it.
And if you don't
But
move,
Russia
you're a
is
criminal of the
shutting down
state.
its
They're going to
internet, and
basically
you're gonna
put a
find
big
they're going
wall,
to do
that big
this
wall that
to
Trump
all
wanted to put. They're
countries,
going to
folks.
put
If
it,
this
you know,
can be blown
east
out
of
proportion to the
Washington,
extent that they
California,
want to, and
and,
it's wagging the dog. Like I said, there is no rule.
Oregon, and
I mean,
everything
sure, Russia will be
to
going
the
down
west.
doing things, and there'll be
You
people
can't
that are
live there.
getting hurt.
You know.
No,
They
you
want to
know, all
move you
sorts of
to
reports from
East
Johnson
Coast,
on both
you know,
sides.
put you in New
You don't
York
have
or
true
Chicago.
anyone,
Or,
and you don't know who to believe because it's the fog of war. You know, the first casualty of any war
it's
is
true.
the truth and information.
Yeah.
Because everything is censored and you just don't know who to believe, you don't know who to trust. And unless you're on the ground there, you just don't know what's going on. And that's the reality of the situation
Yeah.
in any war type scenario. And you know, there doesn't even have to be a real war. They can just create that type of scenario and they can control the information flow. And then they can do what they want. But they're going to shut down communication between countries. They've been threatening this sort of stuff for a while, and it looks like they're going to do it. Another thing that's happened in Australia, they are saying that you should feel free to report any people of Russian heritage who are supporting Putin. And that supporting Putin is classed as hate speech and as violence propaganda. That's what they're saying. So think back to when they were arresting Japanese Americans who were full American citizens, arresting them and putting them in internment camps in World War II. Remember that?
Remember
Well,
that?
that could be what's about to happen to people of Russian descent in Australia who might be posting things about Putin, or even anybody on social media who doesn't hate Putin. You know, if you think Putin's doing the right thing by going in and rescuing these people in Donbass, then you can be seen as a terrorist. And thank God we've got these quarantine camps they can go and put all these people in. Thank God we've got the quarantine camps to put the 40,000 people who are homeless from the floods in. You can see how controlled all this is, folks. Bear in mind, Putin being a World Economic Forum is one of the young leaders in the club. It could be. Putin is well aware that they're going to stage something like Cyber Polygon. They're going to shut down the internet and claim it was Russian hackers or Chinese hackers or whatever. And so he wants to secure the Russian internet now before that happens. And I'm fully expecting that to happen like any day, folks, any day. Just for them to shut down communications. You know, the revolution will not be televised. When this happens, no one's going to know what's going on in any country.
This is why I said, like even a year ago, people should be starting to establish other lines of communication, ham radios and things like this. Unfortunately, now I'm in Mexico. I don't really have access to all the stuff that I prepared for this occasion. But they're going to take it to the next level, folks. It won't be World War III as we know it. It'll just look like it is on the TV. And they'll create whatever hardship they want in your own country to get you to comply the way they're doing in Australia with all of these floods and all this bullshit. The breaking down of the food chain in the United States.
Look at what he's talking about. He's talking about half of Australia. And that's like 4 times bigger than those 3 states.
Things are about to get really crazy. Now is definitely the time to implement your plan B.
Plan B.
You've got one. You've been thinking about getting people out of certain places. I'd say
That's where
now's
I'm
the time
at.
to do it.
Plan B.
Because
up the grid,
when they kick this
up
off,
on top of the, I'm
you're going to be
4,200 feet above
where you are. Because things are
sea level.
escalating so quickly.
I'm in Sawtooth Mountains, so there on
You're
either
going to see a
every
huge
direction.
shift.
There are
in the money
20
system, like
mountain ranges
like
between
any
me
day, any minute.
and the
you know.
valley, me and the
We've
ocean.
been expecting it for months, expecting it for years, but honestly,
I mean, this is kind
things
of
are escalating
what
so
it looks
quickly.
like where I'm at.
And it's going to happen before anybody really realizes it's happening. I mean, it's happening all around us now. They're just doing it in stages. So get prepared, folks. Get prepared. Now's the time to do it.
Yep. I've been talking about this for the last 2 years. And, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Good luck. Now I had, 70 amazing years. I've had about 20 different lives. I've lived all over the world. I've had amazing adventures. I've died 7 times, so I know what dying's like. So I've been given a chance to come back and do my part. So that's what I'm doing here on Dreamy Dreamland. So. Well, you don't have to send anything except, hey, send something to me on PayPal. The dudewait42@gmail. 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 Come visit. If you're over there in the West, come visit. It's going to be a rainbow gathering in Colorado. I might people keep. I used to be a rainbow guy, right? And the last time I went was 2012. And it was so up the hook bad. And I kept, I was there in the beginning when it was like heaven. We would walk into the woods. We wouldn't drive. We wouldn't have cars. We would just have 2 joint compound things on a forest tool, and we would walk in with our beans and whatever, camping gear. And now it's a drive-in, movie. Hitchhike, Colorado. We got a bunch of friends that be in one car, right? Or take a bus or hitchhike, right? But don't go by yourself. I hitchhiked in the 60s, and I rode the rails too. I learned how to ride the rails. That was having your own railroad car. And the people who rode the rails, they were real culture, and they were really friendly. And it was a good time. That's what I'm saying. I had mentors and teachers and experiences that people can't even imagine. And I'm very blessed for that. And so that's life. What time is it now? It's almost 2. I've been at it for an hour and 8 minutes. So when it hits, ones all across the thing, I'll be going. So let's, remember me on PayPal, the dudewait42@gmail, dudewait42@gmail, and you get a hold of me at my email, dudewait42@gmail, and I'll get back to you. So why don't we just close our eyes and meditate? Every day in every way, take the peace of the oath and make it stronger. And our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, As we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as it was in the beginning, as now ever shall be, world without end. Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit. And that's what it is. It's a Trinity, the male, the female, and the Holy Spirit, which is the twin flame, right, of love's co-creation. And it's interesting. You look at Christianity, you look at Islam, you look at Judaism. It's all God, man. There is no female. And so that kind of points to me, anyway, that it's an alien culture, because the only way you can just have all guys is that they've been cloned, right? And look, the woman Eve, she was taken from a guy's rib. That's cloning. So let's, Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, hear our prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. It was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at our time. Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, hear our prayer for peace. Bring peace to all those around the world. Love you.